5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome, what for? Train on the trees, please pardon my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands, and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Ain't no challenge for champions and chain no fear. Yeah, the champions, yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Paleocrat Diaries. I am your host, the one and only, the Evening Emperor, Jeremiah Bannister, the Paleocrat OG. Totally pumped to be back here. Super excited about this. Got to get my chair situated. You know, it's crazy because you get everything put together, right? You get everything put together. You spend a bunch of time, tons of hours, getting all things situated, and then you forget to have your chair lowered. I'm going to be showing you guys my belly button. You know, I'll tell you, we have an amazing show for you today. A whole bunch of really great topics. If you've missed any of the programs, I just got to say this first. If you've missed any of the shows thus far, you're Loon Tunes, okay? You are seriously missing out on some awesome material. I just shared a video that is, what was it, man? Extremist. How Reza Aslan is what I call him, terror fomenting, human brain eating freak show. And it's hilarious. It's a great clip. Okay, it's a great clip from the show. I got a bunch lined up, but I noticed something when I did that. I noticed something. And that is that Papa Bear has been kind of, a little grumpy. A little grumpy here. A little bit upset. Right? A little bit frustrated about the ways of the world, the way things are going right now. And I wasn't too happy about that, actually, because I have an angel on my shoulder. I have a couple, right? I've got my daughter. Okay, she's praying right now for Papa. But I also have a long-time listener. And in fact, we have grown to be friends, right, over time. And it all started, a lady, she was watching a video on Meaning of Catholic with Timothy Flanders. And she saw me, and she recognized me. She recognized the name. And we went way back. I was much younger. But we went to the same church. And by same church, I mean, it was like obscure. It's one of those that it's just kind of lost in time. You know, I think we were meeting at the time. The church isn't even around anymore. But we were meeting at the time in a Y Center. And the Y Center is not even the same anymore. I mean, it's still there, but it's way different. And so, but she saw it and reached out to me. We talked in the comment section and stuff, and she's been an angel on my shoulder ever since. Okay, for my family and everything. In fact, so much that we've asked her to be the godmother of Wolfgang Phoenix, our newest addition. And he's getting baptized very soon. Actually, the 26th. Okay, the 26th. Lots of conflicting stuff on the 26th. But he's going to be getting baptized in the traditional rite. So the Latin rite, the old form with the exorcism prayers, the chrism, all that jazz. It's going to be awesome, okay? We actually have a video of that, of an old rite baptism for Lucian, our son Lucian. And you can see that at the YouTube channel. But this friend of ours, right? I remember she reached out to me early on and she told me, she goes, look, one of the things I like about you in particular, right? Your whole thing is that, you know, you're not as radical as a lot of the other guys. I think I'm more radical now than any of them. You know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not we're not having like a peeing contest here. But I'm serious. I mean, I don't know. I would be curious. Who do you think out there? And look, I mean, maybe there's other people out there that you guys know of that you go, oh no, Jeremiah, you don't get that award. That belongs to this other person. You know, but on the Catholic scene, right? A Catholic pundit out there just ripping people to shreds, burning bridges, going nuts. But I watched it and I thought, so I went back to try to think in my head, what is she talking about? And so I went, and there are these old videos. They're all pre-recorded though. That's the thing. They're pre-recorded, they're scripted, so they're not live like this. They're not about current events. And the world, as bad as it was not this. But I also was not this. Okay. My blood pressure wasn't like off the charts. And so it was way different. And it made me think. It made me think a little bit. And so I don't know. I can't help it if I flip out. So, but I promise to my friend, our dear friend, family now. Okay, family. But I promise. I will try. Okay. I will try, but don't hate me if I end up getting mad. So, and just so everybody knows, the chat room's up. Okay, now it's in a separate screen, so I'm not going to be able to see it in real time. I'm not sure, because I still have the problem that I've been having with my battery life. Okay, that has still been going on. I'm actually going to the affordable, what is it? Affordable Apple Store? Affordable iStore? Anyway, it's not the official store that you go to. I hate that thing, by the way. I do. I loathe it. But I got to bring the MacBook in. I got to do it. It's got to be fixed up, nice and fancy, because I got to be doing this all the time, and I don't want to be checking the time and making sure, I got battery life left. So, I don't know how long the show is going to go tonight. We're going to do the best we can. I'm going to get to those comments. I've already got a whole bunch in there. Glad to see people from Canada. Orthodox Christian there. Good. Okay. Family is Serbian. Okay. Wonderful. Yes. Very good. So we've already got people in there. And just so you know, if you're watching on Facebook, you're watching on Periscope, you're watching on YouTube, doesn't matter. Go ahead and post your comment. It'll show up in this thread. Let's go ahead and I'll just show you right now. And that way, okay. Oh, yeah, I kind of like this one anyway. Check this out. Wham. My wife made this. Yeah, she made that little ring like that. Man, I love it. My wife is amazing. But as you can see here, we'll be able to scroll later too, because I don't have a full screen loaded up yet. So, and look, for the people saying amen, I would love to know exactly what it was that you were saying amen to. Is this a thing on one of the channels? What channel is that? What channel are you guys posting that on? Amen, amen. What is that? Gotta find out. But if you post your comment there, as you can see, got YouTube, Facebook, eventually you'll see Periscope comments as well. And it will all be in there. And of course, we hit on these at the very end of every single show. I'm going to start putting it together too, where I share the comments on the YouTube page. So you can make sure to go to the YouTube page, and you can do that by going to youtube.com/Paleocrat. I'm also going to put the meme reviews. I'm going to put those up every single episode is what I'm going to do. So it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. But we've got a bunch of awesome topics for you. We're going to have a blast today. Let me see here. What are we going to start with? We got ghoulish fraud. Youngest COVID-19 victim in Michigan actually died from a birth defect. Big deal. It's a big one. Okay. And there's a whole bunch of that, by the way. Scamsters. The coming social credit system. This is actually by Rod Dreher, and I like Rod Dreher. I know there are people in the Catholic world, it's like a love-hate with him, right? Because he's a defector. He's a defector, and ended up going over to Eastern Orthodoxy. And so I got a lot of family and a lot of friends like that. And look, people can get grumpy pants at me, but, I go quite a ways back with Jay Dyer. I know him. We texted on the phone. In fact, when he gets the shipment in of his books, I'm supposed to be getting a copy. Jay, I want a copy, man. Both those books. You better sign them, buddy. Okay. So I know that, we obviously have big-time disagreements. And so he's more in the apologetic community, and so there's people like that. But Rod Dreher talks about the social credit system, this kind of stuff we're seeing right now in China. An article, How Diversity Became Its Own Pagan Religion. You're not going to want to miss it. How racist theory robs and rapes reality. It's about critical race theory. Segregation but woke. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. Let's put this on the screen. Let's just let everybody see this here. Uh-oh. Give me 1 second. Look at this. I'll go ahead and I'll put it on news too. Why not? Transition. Yeah, because I have another news thing here, another window. The only problem is that sometimes it's not showing up, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop news right down. I'm really sorry. That's a big time bummer for me because I really like that particular news window. So, all right, segregation but woke. It's on the agenda. Oh, this is hilarious. Christine Lagarde expounds on revolutionary process of feminizing leadership. Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. This is just a brief mention, but the DC Marxist group is caught on video training supporters on how to kick in Lindsey Graham's door. Okay. In fact, did that happen today? Oh, man, we got to get over this page. That's ridiculous. Antifa. Why do they look like that, by the way? Why do so many of these people from Antifa, like, they look like the guy from Beavis and Butthead, one of the earliest episodes where he had murder written on his forehead tattooed. Instead, like, murder, and his forehead is really wide, and his eyeballs are kind of far away. Isn't there an issue with that? What would cause that? The Soros cover-up. Newt Gingrich, I'm really glad that he actually talked about this, because this is a huge deal. I've been talking about Soros for a very long time, even back in 2016, right after the election and the secret door meeting, because check it out. I mentioned this. We're going to talk about it from 2016. This is Politico, outing what was going on, and you can see his fingerprints all over this. Some other great stuff. And of course, we're going to talk about the veteran from Build the Wall. Is that what that was called? Brian Kolfage. Yeah, triple amputee. They go in totally dehumanizing moment. Intentionally. It's a political hit job. Yeah, more of that. Let's see here. Julian Assange. Might touch on that a little bit. I used to talk about that all the time. Joe Biden. So there's a whole bunch of really great topics. I've got a couple more, but I don't want to waste any more time because I'm not sure exactly how long I've got. Although the battery right now says it's at 100. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but let's go ahead and just get right to this, okay? We are going to get right to business. Man, this is bothering me. I really, really wish that I could use that window capture. You know, it'd be so great. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can do that. Give me 1 second. Watch this. I'm going to see if it will work if I go back to it. There we go. Look at that. Okay. Because I have to have this too. It would drive me nuts if I couldn't have the little ticker. My wife actually worked a long time on that. We're going to get it fixed up, but I'm glad to see it. Okay. Thank you for bearing along. Ghoulish fraud starting this off. Youngest COVID-19 victim in Michigan actually died from a birth defect. This is happening all the time. What was the one? It was one. Was it Florida? Supposedly the youngest that had died in the country, right? Ended up having a whole bunch of problems. This birth defect is rather interesting because it's a baby born with intestines located outside the body. I have a friend. And in fact, he just lost his mom. I knew his mom. Right? Good people. Okay. Good people. He recently lost his mom, but him and his wife, they have 3 children. Okay. Not long ago had their third. And they were about to have number 4. If I'm remembering correctly. Okay. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But the thing is that they had a child. Okay, yes, child number 3. Okay. Child number 3 was a young little girl with a beautiful name, Aislinn. And she was born with a condition, and I don't remember the name of the condition, but the brain is on the outside of the head. Okay. Super, super, super sad. Didn't live very long. They were encouraged by doctors to abort. Of course, they said no. There were people, friends, family that were mad at them about that. They said no. They assured the baby wouldn't feel pain. Okay. But the lifespan is not going to be very long. In this particular case, I can't imagine it being very long either. You're being lied to. Who wrote this? Let's see here. Jim Hoft. I like that guy. Go follow him, by the way. Especially because they're being throttled there and censored like crazy on social media. You're being lied to. As Gateway Pundit reported last week, the CDC included 5,692 intentional injuries and poisonings. I'm wondering if they meant unintentional. Was it intentional injuries? Maybe. You know, a guy gets his butt whooped outside of a bar and he's like, ah, and they get there, and he dies, right? He's just completely somebody runs him over with a car. Splat. And he goes there, and they're like, oh, he had COVID. He died of COVID. Like, dude, he was completely crushed. Yeah, and poisonings. Died of poisonings, by the way. In the total U.S. coronavirus death count. Think about that for a second. They're including that nonsense. You go in, you got poisoned, foam out the mouth, and after you're dead, they go in, they check you out, and they go, he had COVID. Yeah, write it down as that. He died of COVID. What? Are you stinking serious? A 2-month-old. Yeah. Yeah, so Andrew Boston over at Andrew Bostum with an M. Andrew Boston said, neonatal C19 overclassification ghoulishness, Michigan 2-month-old. The youngest C19 victim's true cause of death was a birth defect. And it was called what? Gastrocus? How would you pronounce that? Gastroschisis? A condition in which a baby is born with intestines located outside the body. Unbelievable. All right. That's just a little itsy bit. But, but I was talking to my wife about this. I'll say this, man. I was talking to my wife about it, and she was furious. And she said, look, she's so upset because, in conversations with other people, you have these conversations all the time. And, when you have them, they talk about how many cases have been reported or how many people have died. But rarely ever do any of these individuals do a breakdown, right? They have an idea in their brain of case and an idea in their brain of death. Death with COVID. So they have an idea of what that means. So they only have to see that, and there's an image, a mental image. It's kind of like if you ask somebody to draw an apple, okay? You say, hey, go draw an apple, or go draw a heart. Most people aren't going to draw a very realistic heart. I had a buddy come over to my house, a doctor. I was hanging out with this doctor. He made some homemade cinnamon rolls, and he made something else. I forget what it's called. Bruschetta? It's kind of a crispy toasted bread. It's got, I think, cheese and herbs and stuff on it. I'm doing carnivore, so I couldn't touch that thing. Right? He came over, but he had a heart on his shirt. It's a cool, it looked realistic, right? It was meant to look like a more realistic heart. But most people have an idea of what it is. Draw a dog. Draw a cat. If you just say, go ahead and draw that, or draw a mustache, you'll probably end up drawing something, maybe, the odds are on it, you might draw something a little bit like the Pringles guy. It's that same mechanism. It's a quick way, and it's the way that we categorize things in our mind. Okay, it's a good thing. It helps. But the thing is that it's just as cartoonish. It's a cartoon thing. If you say draw a heart or draw a mustache and you do the Pringles guy, yeah, sure, there are Pringles mustaches out there. But there's way more mustaches than Pringles mustaches. Okay. And different kinds. And hearts don't look like that. Okay. Little kitties probably don't look like that. What you just drew. Or a stick person. Draw a person. Someone draws a circle and some sticks. You say that's not what people look like. But we understand what that means. That same mechanism is being taken advantage of by fearmongers right now. Right now. Because if they just put out there, young girl dies of COVID, and that's all it says, we have images in our mind of what that's like. We've heard. Maybe we've seen that footage. What was it? From Italy? Not even from the United States. They played it over and over and over and over and over because our hospitals were empty. Remember that? Facebook, Twitter, they had to shut that bugger down quick. Because people were going in, film your hospital or film my hospital. What was it called? Amazing. People going in, video after video after video after video. And we all know it was empty anyway because all these nurses are making TikToks. It was a meme, man, at this point. Like, it's a joke. There's some really, really good ones. You know, it's like a guy sitting there going, hey, can I please get some help? I'm dying over here. And they're like, oh, no, wait, we're recording a TikTok video. and they're practicing. There's choreography in the dancing. So we all know it. But they're taking advantage of this. Like the whole situation going down, what is it, Nashville? Intentionally hiding numbers. Busted. Busted, dude. They are in big trouble. And it's hilarious. If you watched, Tucker covered this. Okay, I knew about this, and then Tucker, the next day, he was covering it, and it was hilarious because he plays the video where the investigative journalist is asking the person that the mayor, go answer the questions right now. Okay, he didn't want to have to answer those questions. He didn't want to have to deal with that. So he sends somebody out there instead to take care for him, right? And the guy's up there and he's going, well, you know, you should have gotten back with us, the government. Okay, so apparently the investigative journalist was asking him about the numbers. The government said, you're going to have to go and FOIA them. He ended up confirming, and he was able to confirm that a specific set of emails that's talking about how the numbers in bars and restaurants was extremely low. I mean, so low that the idea that they're shut down is outrageous. And that's what I'm saying. When people start to figure this out, it's never good to lie, especially if you're in a high position of power in the government. But the truth is, when you're lying, and whether it's a lie of commission or omission, either way, if you're saying, we've got this, we never told you it was that low, or that it wasn't as high, because we never said anything. Oh, but you knew. Well, yeah, we knew. I'm telling you, you're going to see people go out with guns. People whose lives have been destroyed. And they're going to come hunting for you. I obviously don't endorse that. I'm fortunate enough to have a degree of stability with what I do. I'm not even afraid of doxers. Come at me. They have plenty of reason to come at me. The stuff I say. Bring it. Ain't the first time we gone round. But the thing is, these people are losing their jobs. Their livelihoods. They're getting evicted. They may lose their homes. Their dreams. Like I said, man, they're going to hear the sound of that. Not good. But they lied. And then when they got busted, they said, well, yeah, you should have come back and told us that you verified that these were true. Why didn't you just simply say, yes, these are true, man? They already had them, dude. You know it. It was all a game. And now they know. And he tried throwing the blame on the media, saying like, you should be ashamed. It was your journalistic diligence. No, dude, you got busted. Same thing with Michigan. So check this out. The coming social credit system. For those who don't know, okay, you're going to learn something here. I actually talked to somebody from China recently. And we were talking. Now, I don't want to get into a big discussion about this, but it was related. I told her, I said, I understand from the position of a republic like our own. Okay. And so where you have different states and different legislatures and you have different constitutions and everything else all over the place, that if there's a national emergency, that you can't just go in. We can't do the authoritarian top-down thing. Okay. But China, on the other hand, obviously, is able to do that. And I said, our propaganda against our own people, right? The propaganda that our government would use. For example, Donald Trump and Fauci both did this. Okay. And I'm a Trump supporter. Can't stand Fauci, but I'm a Trump supporter, hardcore. But the thing is that when you go out and you downplay something, but you know that it's looking bad, at least on the front end of it. Okay, we're talking about COVID. And you're doing that with the intention of keeping people calm. You're still engaging in propaganda. Because but that's how our states operate in situations like that, because they're not the top-down authoritarian totalitarian regimes like China that just say everybody inside right now or you're dead or arrested. Okay? And so they have a different way of dealing with it. And I said, I can imagine that their propaganda would have to be stronger. Ours are subtle, incremental, revealing things slowly, acting as if you've been saying it the entire time, like with social distancing and stuff like that. But with them, because the question's arisen, people say, well, why aren't there videos of people passing out, dying in the street in the United States? We saw them like crazy over there. It's a possibility because they weren't real. I'm serious. It's totally a possibility that that is their version of propaganda that they use in order to even get their own people to comply. Because while the vast majority, culturally, for a long period of time, I mean, you can read about that. What's the guy's name? Roger Ames. Translation of Art of Warfare by Roger Ames. Sun Tzu. Okay, go read that and you'll understand what I'm talking about the culture and how different people see themselves. The idea of individuals within that system is different than ours, and we should understand that, even in their response or their choice of propaganda, not just their response to it, but their choice of it. Okay, we were talking about it, and the issue came up, about the whole idea of a social credit system. That's what Dreher says. We're just over 1 week away from the release of Live Not by Lies, and I'm gearing up for swatting down the, quote, Dreher's just being alarmist accusations. So am I. I'm with him on this, by the way. I'm with him on this. Paul Joseph Watson talks a lot about this as well. Okay. Fortunately, or to be honest, unfortunately for us all, 2020 is making my job a lot easier. That's an understatement. That's an understatement. Oh, are you kidding me? And for some reason, it ended up just erasing all of the... Oh, and it did it on every single one of my pages. Great. I highlight this stuff. Let's see. I got a decent memory. We're going to see about this. We're going to see if I can roll with this, okay? Beijing's use of consumer data, and this is according to, what is this? According to the book, okay? And this is about soft totalitarianism and the idea of a social credit system like the one the Chinese use, and how this is already, the makings are in, okay? If Betty Crocker was looking for a recipe for soft totalitarianism, guess what? Found it, okay? Beijing's use of consumer data, biometric information. And think about this, because what I just said, this applies to the United States, not just to China. And I apologize for the lack of highlighting. This isn't going to make it tough. I'm going to do my best. We're going to do this. There's always an issue. Beijing's use of consumer data. So the stuff, you're online, checking stuff out, buying stuff, using your card, whatever. Biometric information. That's great. They're going to have biometric information. Already do, by the way. GPS tracking coordinates. Already have it. Facial recognition. Already have it. What do you think Facebook is, man? What do you think this is? Pretty darn good. DNA. Whoa, son. And other forms of data harvesting are turned and has turned and continues to turn China into a beast never before seen worldwide. Not even under Mao and Stalin. In China, the tools of surveillance capitalism are employed by the surveillance state to administer the so-called social credit system, which determines who's allowed to buy, sell, and travel based on their social behavior. Think about this. This is nightmare talk. This is totally freaky dystopian universe stuff. And it's already happening. It's already happening right now in China. They have access to this. And the thing is, our government and corporations have access to the exact same stuff right now. China is about to become something new, an AI-powered techno-totalitarian state. The project aims to form not only a new kind of state, but a new kind of human being. That, to me, that makes my skin crawl. It's what they're about. Social engineering to the extreme with the use of a panopticon, essentially. And for those who may not know what a panopticon is, right? It's this fascination that people have had to take, for example, prisons, right? The idea of saying, okay, we have prisons, but prisoners can sneak stuff in. You know, they've got privacy, so we don't really know. Are they around the corner? Are they colluding? What are the whispers? And so these people came up with different schemes, right? And different drawings and layouts of this. Blueprints that said, okay, here's a concept. You have a circular room, okay? So it's completely in the shape of a circle. All of the, all of the bars, right, for the cells are facing inward. None of them facing each other. They've all got walls dividing, and they're all facing inward. And in the middle, in the center of this circle, it almost looks like a donut, because in the center of that circle is this cylindrical shape, okay? So it's like a big pillar in the middle, round. So it follows the same pattern as the outer wall where all the cells are. And inside of that, in the olden days, before they had windows that you could see both directions and stuff like that, the idea was that you would have different window openings. And so you would have guards inside. They would be able to monitor all the time. And then the people around would wonder, even if they were away from, let's say the window is really dark, and as they get closer to that opening, you can see them, and then they back out again. You would always wonder if they're in that room. Well, now we have ways of making it so that they can see outside of that, and they don't have to be in there at all. But the idea is that the prisoners of the panopticon, they are always afraid that somebody's watching. We've lived in a panopticon for many years. James Clapper and company were behind that. The scheme team, the same schemers that were behind the whole Russiagate nonsense, the same ones, they got outed by Bill Binney. Oh, no, we didn't spy on American people. Yes, you did, dude. You lied to Congress. It's on video. Your butt should be in jail, okay? It's offensive that you are not right now rotting in prison. And the masterminds of this terrible thing. Every single keystroke you're making. What is it? Where is it located? Colorado? Storage facility? The idea that we don't know Hillary's emails is crazy. I wonder where they are. I wonder if the Russians... You know why they never... Number one, they never got the server, right? The FBI. Oh, no, we don't need that. We'll take people's word for it. Okay? We're going to take people's word for it that it was hacked by Russia. We don't need the property to evaluate for ourselves, because that's how justice works. It'd never make it in a real court. Never. But they could have gone. They could say, look, we don't even need it. We know the ins and outs of all of this traffic because we keep track of it. So this has been going on actually for a long time. And of course, there we go. Look at this. The completeness. Yeah, the project aims to form not only a new kind of state, but a new kind of human being. One who has fully internalized the demands of the state and the completeness of its surveillance and control. They don't even want to have to deal with you. They want the pressures to be such, algorithmically, that they don't have to. Because ultimately, what's going to happen when they're able to put together with you a composite, kind of like Facebook does of businesses. If you look up a business, sometimes you might look up a business on Google, and you'll see the Facebook, or look it up on Facebook, and you will see a page, but it says that this is not an actual page, and if you would like the group to do it, let them know. And what they do is they take, algorithmically, they take different pictures from those locations, from cameras that were by there, or from people who tagged and mentioned them, and they create a composite, so to speak, right? They do that with a lot of your information. You can go, what is it, Spokeo? There's places where you can find that about yourself right now. But here's the thing, because it's digital, including commercial transactions, it's automatically monitored there. Chinese with high social credit ratings gain privileges. Those with low scores find daily life to be harder. They aren't allowed to buy high-speed train tickets or take flights. Doors closed to certain restaurants. Their children might not be allowed to go to college. They may lose their job and have a difficult time finding a new one. And a social credit scofflaw will find himself isolated as the algorithmic system downgrades those who are connected to the offender. Bottom line, a Chinese citizen cannot participate in the economy or society unless he has the mark. The mark of approval. You know, it's weird. You guys remember how the people who are a little bit older, right? I'm 42 years old, okay? I'm old enough to remember when the internet first made its appearance to the world, before Al Gore invented it. And I remember when that happened, and there were people who came around and they would talk to me about www, the numerological significance of that. Vav, vav, vav. And they'd say, well, that's Hebrew. Numerically, that would be 666. And I remember thinking how cuckoo that was. I said, it also means World Wide Web. But then I thought about it recently, and I said, look at this. It seems weird. Cancel culture, which this is cancel culture to the extreme. Cancel culture, social credit scores, doxing, all of this stuff, this wickedness, propaganda, the kind of propaganda that we're getting this way. Now, you can also be free. You can also get information from psyops like me. Right? You can get that. What is it, an IIS? What do they call those, man? The shadow net thing. But like, the thing is that this is how we're inundated. This is how we're acclimated. And ultimately, it's going to be this. This is how we're subjugated. You got to read the rest of it. You think it can't happen here? As I show in the book, Google, Facebook, and other major corporations already collect tons of data from every one of us based on how we use the internet and smartphones. And I'll say this, I'll skip ahead here because I'm already 82%. I told you this thing's draining hard. So we're gonna start cooking. So the thing is that there was an episode of Tucker, I believe, and it was over a Fox News segment or something like that. But they basically had this guy, and I think he was over in London or over in England, and they're driving around all day long. And if I remember correctly, he had 3 phones, 2 or 3 different phones. I think one of them was on airplane mode, and one of them was turned off and only turned on, I think, twice or something like that throughout the day, a few times throughout the day, to take pictures and to make one phone call. And then at the end, they put it through this processing machine that's able to capture and translate. So as that information is being sent out, okay, so once the phones are plugged in, information is being sent out to different providers. Okay, so to Google and Facebook and all of these different groups, it's sharing, it's translating as it's running through, it's translating that information and printing it out. And they knew what time you went to the bathroom and to what percentage of accuracy they knew it. They knew if you closed a door to a car. In many ways, these places know you better than you know yourself right now. And yet, what do? Keep on going. We'll talk more about that. How diversity became its own pagan religion. Those who invoke it refuse to acknowledge any common human ground, a challenge to Christianity itself. As our society fractures into hostile factions without any apparent glue to hold them together, it's an appropriate time to consider our culture's embrace of diversity. Diversity is now, how'd you pronounce that? Raison d'etre? How'd you pronounce that? Of contemporary life, dominating the culture of our universities. You know, I need to learn how to pronounce that like in French. So I can sound really fancy and learn something beyond chercher la femme. Okay. A guy told me that, and I thought he was I was like, man, this guy knows French. I think it was from a movie. And I think it means I chase the women. Contemporary life, dominating the culture of our universities, corporations, entertainment, and other mainstream institutions. Totally true. And he talks about how, he says, what are conservatives to do in this situation where it's gone in and it's swept through everywhere? Everywhere you look, you go on YouTube, right? It's either rainbow flags or black fists. One of the two all year long somehow. Constantly. Boom, 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 boom. Or pink vagina hats. Because you can't forget about Me Too. What are conservatives to do? First, they should not glibly dismiss the kernel of truth in their opponent's position. This is true. Because there's actually, what does he say? As it is actually lived, human life is in fact a wealth of diversity. And it would be quite monotonous without it. Totally true. It's the reason, as he says, why we travel and wander through a museum. But he says, if that's true, why does everything seem to have gone wrong? The problem is that many diversity advocates refuse to admit that while life is diverse, it also has an element of oneness. Certain common elements that are inescapable. It's true. It's the one in the many. You know, this is why Trinitarianism rocks. Okay? This is why it's awesome. Because it is the one in the many. And if you don't know what I mean by that, you know, in fact you do. You may not understand it, but you use this all the time. It's so essential to everything in the world. Okay? And it's only adequately explained by the Trinity. That's it. Okay? No other religion, no other worldview, none that lack that as the starting point can make sense literally out of anything. Why? Because the one in the many is essential to every single second and nanosecond of our entire life. How? Because take the extremes, okay? You have the idea of we are all diverse. We're all diverse. Number one, they can't live that way. It's kind of like, you know, oh man, in its archetype, right? If you can count it as that at this point, you've got the kids that go into Hot Topic and they're so diverse. They're all individualistic. They're all, you know, I'm totally myself. I'm not like anybody else. And they all look the same, like the goth kids on South Park. Predictable as the morning sun. Okay. not very individualistic. I mean, they are, but they are also like something else. You have groups that say, that we are totally individualistic. A lot of these libertarian types. I'm not like anybody else, man. Lone wolf in this. But yet they're just like so many of the other guys just like them. It's like a caricature. On the flip side of this, you have the collectivist, the idea that we are all one, man. But we're not. Because these people who say that we're all one, number one, they're using the phrase we're. We are. Even in their language, they defy it. We are all one. Am I you? Yeah, man, you're me. Dude, I am bankrupt. I have no money. I am being chased by the cops for murder. And he's well, no. They'll go to court and say, no, I saw him. All of a sudden, guess what? You ain't one anymore. Look at that. Ain't that cute? But yet there's a balance. There's a striking balance between something being diverse and something being united. That's why we have a universe, man. That was the original concept of the university. That's how every civilization that has ever survived has thrived. And that's how every single civilization that has caved and gone down, that's how they've died. Is by falling prey to one of those two things. That's how. We do this with language. Like right now, I've got a lamp behind me. It just turned blue. I was going to say it's green. It changes, right? I got a red bracelet. Okay? And someone can see that and say, well, that's red. But then I could find this. I got this terrible book right here. Reading this as getting prepared to co-author with my buddy on this topic. Right? So critical race theory, an introduction. Blah. But that red and that red are not the same red. But there's a concept of redness. My beard's not the same as, Long John Silver's beard. You know what I mean? Little John. Little John Silver. So our beards are different, but yet they're both beards. I'm sitting in a chair. This chair is a computer chair. If I go upstairs, there's a chair at the dinner table. We call those things both chairs because they share a concept. We have this idea that there's similarities that are common enough that we make sense out of that. And if we didn't have that, we wouldn't even be able to use language. Think of all the ways that even applies to every word we say. That's how you can understand me right now. So the diversiphiles, they emphasize this superficially different thing about human beings while failing to acknowledge the profound commonalities. Yes. This error manifested itself when the civil rights movement jettisoned Martin Luther King Jr.'s appeal to character as the ultimate standard for judgment and instead began to assert that only skin color mattered. What distinguishes human beings from everything else, and I love this paragraph, in the universe is that we are cleft between what is good and what is evil. We all have a higher self. Okay, I state it like this. Okay, we are, in this world, we have three things. We have God, we have not God, and we have not God like God. We have a higher self that can act with virtue and decency, and a lower self. That's the like God. We have the not God, the lower self that can act with malice and hatred. What all great religious traditions acknowledge is that the taming of the lower self brings harmony with what is divine in our nature, and this brings happiness. It brings unity. It brings the kind of tolerance that says, you can survive. I don't like your views, but I'm not out here to cancel you. I'm not here to beat you up. On this point, there's great agreement, in fact, between the Hindu religion's law of Manu, Aristotle's ethics, and Buddha's sayings in the Dhammapada. The prophets of the Old Testament, the Pauline epistles, and many of the sayings in the Quran. This is true. This is true. Because they're human. Because these are not entirely depraved in every single jot and tittle. It's why we can communicate meaningfully and even be at peace with those we disagree with. It's why I want peace with Russia. I want peace with Putin. That's why I want peace with North Korea. My family's from, not North Korea. I have family in South Korea. But that whole situation is really important to us. Their religion is not the same as ours. For human beings to live together in peace, individuals must act upon what is highest in themselves, rein in their passion and desires, and act not according to their own selfish will, but according to a will greater than themselves. At this level of existence, human beings are not diverse. They are the same. Because we have souls. Because we are creatures created in the image of God. You get rid of that. Either we are all the same chemical, right? We're all just materials, stuff bashing into it. And it's weird, the kind of weird thing with people who say, well, we're just a bunch of atoms smashing into each other. Yeah, but are those atoms are essentially the same. So on the one hand, it's an illusion of diversity. It's a oneness, which is why they're all New World Order types. Inevitably, it flows from this. They're New World Order types, man. The diversity hucksters refuse to acknowledge that the only true source of order in society is this self-ordering that takes place within the heart of every person. Which is, yes, because ultimately, again, they don't believe we have souls. It's not redemptive. So we lack a common bond. We're just different colored monkeys, man. That's it. And this is the kind of stuff we have to get over. This is the kind of stuff you got to pound away at and say, look, I don't just disagree with your belief system, these critical race theorists, because they're racist. I mean, they obviously are. They're the woke separatists. They want to get out of there. Okay, they don't want to be together. They want to start their own thing. In fact, that's, I think, the topic of this one right here. But we have to hammer it home and say, look, you don't actually have any kind of mechanism in your system that brings cohesion amongst different people. Some shared sense of identity and humanity. Which ends up being the idea of pure power. Vengeance. Revenge. That's not the way to have any kind of social theory. That's balkanization 101. That's civilizational suicide 101. This is over at oons.com. Alana Mercer. Every time I hear that, I think of Roy Mercer. If you don't know anything about those, Roy D. Mercer, you got to listen. They're hilarious. It's a comedian guy. Talking about D.L. Hewley, the author of Surrender White People. Wow, okay. Regaled those CNN viewers with a masochistic mindset by comparing racism to COVID-19. Whitey belched Hewley, who used to be witty and is now a drag, can be an asymptomatic carrier of racism. Ugh. Just because you haven't done anything racist doesn't mean you aren't racist. Pay no attention to the COVID race comparison. It's the left's lowbrow idea of an intellectual quip. Be mindful, however, of the guilty if you do, guilty if you don't, pop jurisprudence. Think about that. That's a heads you win, tails I lose scenario. Play along, buddy. Everything's on the line. We're only calling you the worst piece of trash. We're only comparing you to Hitler. Blah. Deconstructed racism, as deployed by critical racists, is purely a metaphysical affair. It doesn't survive contact with reality. It's true. It's self-refuting. Same thing with this whole critical race feminism. That's just cuckoo pants. I have a buddy, I think, who went through some of that. Feminist epistemology stuff. To properly place critical race theory in perspective, a young man followed up the column with a personalized tale of desperation, a guy who wrote an article about it. He had the misfortune of drawing a skyscraper in art class. Oh boy. This is not going good. His creation was alighted on by his professor cum oppressor and right away called out for being a phallic symbol, offensive to women. How dare you draw a skyscraper? These people see wieners all over the place. I'm sorry for being vulgar, but these people do. It's like they got this terrible thing going on in their mind. Oh. Look at that. So at least at the end of the article, man, it gave it to me. To some, with critical race theory, a triumphant left arbitrarily imposes meaning on the phenomenological world as a function of its will to power. That's what I've been saying. I said, look, they make up these words. It's gobbledygook, man. It's gobbledygook. It's LARPing to a different level, like where they're like, the dropometer goes. Well, there is a meme or a cartoon where they're just laying out all of these super... No. It was like an instructional video. And now maybe those words were right, but it's the way that it plays out is what I'm talking about. The way that you've got these words that you're like, is that for real? The Doppelganger at the Zitzogamer. You're like, what? What's that? What makes sense in my worldview? I have a construct in my brain. That's what this is. Segregation but woke. The belief that whites and non-whites cannot coexist is leading us back to a dark period in our history. Michael Warren Davis. And he talks about this issue where individuals are saying, look, there's a lot of black people now who are saying, I'm your black friend, but I won't educate you about racism. That's on you. But this is hard because this refrain leaves white folks, right, having to come to grips with this kind of subliminal anti-black prejudice. And you've got to do it, as said in the article, without asking black people to explain what those prejudices even look like. This makes it extremely hard because you're told that it's inherent. You're born with this. You can't get around it. But I'm not going to explain it to you. You got to figure it out yourself. And if you come up and say, well, is this what it's about? I'm not explaining it. You got to figure it out yourself. Then write a freaking book, dude. It might explain why so many are despairing of integration altogether. Duh, yes, totally. Not meaning to be rude to the author of this. It's a great piece, by the way. But that's why we're dealing with the idea that whites and non-whites, they might not be able to coexist. That's why you're dealing with it. You're seeing a resurgence of people that say, we just want a place for white people to live. And you got this resurgence now. There's people, what? Where was this? Freedom, Georgia initiative has decided to do this. Yes, they purchased 97 acres. This is echoing This is echoing some of the worst actors in modern time. You've got Louis Farrakhan. What a kook, man. Just complete weirdo. You want to talk about pseudoscience? Nation of Islam, man. I've got some books. I have a buddy. We haven't talked in a long time, but I have somebody, we had very, very, very long conversations about this. I read material. I've read tons of the newspapers. I'll even pay for them. Think about this. Speaking of the church, at least one talking about how the church is dealing with this same problem too. There was a charity. I don't know, is it just Catholic Charities? The dude makes a video and comes out right away. I am a racist. A terrible person in our church is racist. On and on he goes. Ad nauseum. I'm thinking, dude, don't give him any money, man. If you ain't going to give David Duke no money, don't give Catholic Charities no money. They're racist real bad. But at least one of the prelates has enthusiastically embraced woke segregationism. In June, Bishop David Zubik of Pittsburgh announced he was forming a new parish under his direct control exclusively for black Catholics. And this is amazing. Along with their sincere enthusiasm and passion for the Catholic faith, I heard and felt their desire to have their unique spiritual and cultural needs met. I want to raise awareness of the need to walk with our black sisters and brothers as they continue to enrich and be an integral part of the Diocese of Pittsburgh and the Catholic Church Universal. Here's the thing. The thing is, though, they won't be an integral part of the diocese. That's actually the point. They'll be tucked away in some ecclesial ghetto. Isolated. I'm at 65%. We're going to push it. So you got this article here, right? Christine Lagarde expounds on the revolutionary process of gender inequality. You got to read her quote. I mean, it's all just, it's boilerplate at this point, right? Gender gap and healthcare workers and greater risk from health perspective. During lockdown, they're active on all fronts and men aren't, so on, so on. Totally ignorant, by the way, on the gender gap when it comes to money. Totally, very, very uninformed. Or if she is informed but doesn't care, she's just lying to everybody. Okay. But the idea of being at greater risk for coronavirus, yeah, I like this. Particularly poor taste, given that men are more likely to die of the disease. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. But Lagarde ends with a totalitarian flourish that would make the dourest Caucasian Aparchik proud. The road toward gender parity in the workplace is anything but straight. It's a long-term process that requires vigilance at all times from every segment of society. What did I tell you? Enough levers. Well, I got to do this one and this one down here. Oh, I found another one. It's totalitarian. They won't be able to get what they want until they control everything. Ain't that a thing? Ain't that weird to you? Ain't that a real problem? Like what kind of person thinks so highly of themselves and their group that they say, if you just gave us control of everything, then we could have a revolutionary process. Well, yeah, I guess so. And you'd have a lot of on your hands too. But then again, if one of those controls you've got is the red button, well, I guess there ain't nothing anybody can do about it. People, it's fascism. I won't talk about this too long, other than to say investigative reporter Millie Weaver released a video on Sunday night of the racial groups, the radical group's members, they're racialists too, practicing kicks on the front door of Lindsey Graham. And look at this. I don't know if I can even show. Oh, the video's not popping up here. They got this video, man. They're like kicking it, like practicing kicking. It's the dumbest looking thing. We got to make a meme out of that. It's really stupid, dude. Almost as dumb as these people. Like, I'm sorry for making fun. But look at them, man. Actually, these ones are actually better looking than a lot of the other Antifa people who get arrested. I don't know, though, man. Look at that cat. What does that guy do? No, that one. No, hold on. That one. And by the way, these people, I wish I had their names. I'd put it out there. Oh, yeah, they did. They did arrest Lindsey Graham. 6 a.m, blasting bullhorns, flash strobe lights. They try to enter his yard. Well, at least, did they? Okay, so they may have tried that. Do you think they were going to try to kick that door in using the technique? The Soros cover-up. All I'm going to, I'm not going to say much about this other than you got to go read this by Newt Gingrich, American Mind. You got to read it. America cannot let Twitter noise overwhelm political reality. Twitter noise. Overwhelm political reality. He talks about his whole situation with Harris Faulkner over at Fox. And it was, like I think I said it on the last episode, that it was one of the most awkward moments I've ever seen on the news. Ever. And I know he's playing nice with her, but I don't think that she was playing cool with him on that. I think it was covering her butt. But he goes through and he lists a number of examples. So does Bill O'Reilly. So does Glenn Beck. There's videos of them. I think you can find that over at Gateway Pundit. But he provides examples of how it's not just at a federal level. A lot of this is at a county level with DAs. And it all goes back to this, which I think, if you ask my opinion, I think a lot of this goes back to the same key players that were involved in the Russiagate hoax that, in my opinion, was central to what may very well have been a continuity of government plan promoted by The Atlantic. DOJ declares New York, Portland, and Seattle anarchist jurisdictions. It's the first step to cutting federal funding. And, of course, I mean, obviously. But listen to this. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, a Democrat, earlier this month threatened to sue the Trump administration if federal funds were cut. Tough crap, man. Your town has lost it. You have lost it. And not only have you lost control, cops are done with you. And de Blasio, they are done with you. Because you don't support them. People are leaving in droves, man. You are losing your tax base. The people who can afford to leave, boom, they are out of there. For good reason, man. For good reason. But he says this, I believe the president is fundamentally a bully, which I've said too many times. And I've known him very well for a very long period of time. It doesn't work in New York because you can't bully New Yorkers. What do you think Trump is, man? We just don't get bullied. We don't respond well to it. And I want to talk about facts. Here's a fact. You sent people with COVID to elder care homes and tons of people died. And you lied to present yourself as anything but a murderous goon. You're part of the con. They forced this United States veteran to crawl, and they stood all by. And they all stood by and watched him crawl with no legs and one arm. By the, Southern District of New York. Look, that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. So the United States Postal Inspection Service, which, by the way, the people who did this, they didn't even notify Florida, did they? Didn't even notify him. Just rolled right in. They made him crawl. They won't even give him his prosthetics. I got a good friend. One of my boys, actually. Proud of my boy. And he has a prosthetic leg. In fact, I'm in some pictures with him. Walking alongside him. I can imagine how terrible that would be to watch. As the New York division of the United States Postal Inspection Service, if they went in and were dragging him out, I'd flip out. How dare you? Triple amputee. He had to scooch around on his butt with one hand, one arm. That's to shame. War. This is war. They know it. They act like it. It's war. We're already here. And of course, they're blaming him for things. You can read his explanation because he of course denies charges of this. Okay? I'll talk about Assange other than to say one quote of this. This is actually a pretty good piece over at oons.com. And if you're not following that, pretty controversial. A lot of stuff even there that I wouldn't necessarily support. But at the same time, they've also got stuff there that is just amazing. So I go and I check it out regularly. Okay. In fact, I thought I saw E. Michael Jones. Somebody reached out to me about him. We'll talk about him sometime. Might even invite him on the show. I don't know. Is there? Will I get banned for that? Oh. But here's the thing. So the gloves were off on Tuesday as the U.S. government explicitly argued in the case with Julian Assange that all journalists are liable to prosecution under the Espionage Act of 1917 for publishing classified information. That is scary. That is scary. Leaks. There's so much we would not know if it wasn't for this. That is a tool of an oppressive regime. And as a journalist, drives me, that's the kind of thing that would keep me up at night. Right there. Go read it. Can't make this up. Twitter locks TV host Steve Malzberg's account after linking to video of Groper Biden. What did I say, man? I love Gateway Pundit's headlines. I need to know who writes these headlines. Gateway Pundit, who writes this? Get back with me. I'm dead serious. I want to know who writes these. I would love to learn at that person's feet. I say you write headlines that are so stretchy all the time. Video of Groper Biden for violation of child sexual exploitation policy. You can't make this up. Twitter freezes RT host Steve Malzberg for sharing a video of Joe Biden touching children. Here's the look at this. Okay. Look at these little girls. Okay. By claiming that it's a violation of child sexual exploitation policy. Wow. Wow. Get the idea? Now this is either innocent grandfather affection or it's child sexual exploitation as Twitter says it is. So Twitter decided to protect Joe Biden by not letting you see the video on Twitter by calling it child sexual exploitation. That's kind of like a video I made about pro-life, talking about the argument of a seed, saying that a seed develops into a person. And I had pictures on there, and YouTube originally took that video down, saying you weren't allowed to put videos of people who had died. And I thought, wait a second. These were all babies, man. You guys are pro-life now or what? Babies? Dead babies? Joe Biden's so out of breath he can barely speak and stand at podium. Did you guys see that? I have to get the video for this because it doesn't make any sense if you don't see it. You thought the Russia hoax was bad. Now Democrats are pushing an obviously failing and senile septuagenarian for president who doesn't know what he's doing or saying half the time. Same thing with Pelosi. Did you see that? She's in an interview. She's in an interview with Stephanopoulos. And he's asking her, man, because he's hoping that they're going to impeach somehow and it's going to stop Trump. Because, I mean, it's just all stops. This is all-out war. All-out war. Because they know that this isn't just triumph, man. This is straight-up domination. Straight-up conquest. Trump. What the heck happened to Nancy Pelosi during the interview? The look on Stephanopoulos' face says it all. It's true. He said this. He said, But to be clear, you aren't taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out. He's like, yeah, by any means necessary, right? Like I've been telling you. You are watching and listening to a very good show. You are a very informed person. Spread it to your friends. But it looks like 80-year-old Pelosi had some kind of bizarre medical episode. Out of the blue, she responds, "Good morning. Sunday morning." Yeah, the video's not showing up on this. I think I have the settings set to hidden. I gotta start being able to do this because the last two videos with Joe Biden breathing, he's this has been really great. Weird. The guy can barely even walk, man, without being out of breath. I mean, he's obviously something is wrong. He's on his last legs. And Pelosi, look at her, man. Ugh. And the way she talks with her teeth, you can tell, man, that there's issues happening. I'm going to save this one. This has to be, I have to start the show with this. This is awesome, though. It's about the Scientific American's endorsement of Joe Biden. It's not terribly scientific or American. Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and I'll do that because we're almost at the end here. Brian Jones over at American Conservative. I love American Conservative. I've liked it less over the years. They kind of strayed, I feel, from the tone of the Buchanan years. And that's, I guess, kind of inevitable a little bit. You start to actually make strides and you get bigger and stuff. So I get it. But at the same time, I miss that. I miss that brand. Okay? Maybe I should start writing stuff and contributing. One would be hard-pressed to find a scientist who has shed more light on the limitations of scientific and medical research than Dr. Ioannidis. And I've mentioned him before. He's the C.F. Renborg Chair in Disease Prevention and Professor of Medicine of Epidemiology and Population Health at Stanford University. While his work has accurately demonstrated the increasing unreliability of large swaths of peer-reviewed scientific research, the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic has helped to manifest an even darker framework surrounding the present conditions of contemporary scientific inquiry. Dr. Andrea Saltelli speaks precisely to this problem, which is the conflation of scientific knowledge with political power. There's a link, you got to read it. The modern model of influence of science and technology on public policies has resulted in a situation where the crisis of the political system and that of science conflate one another, as witnessed by the post-truth, post-facts debates, challenging the arrangements whereby knowledge in the form of science and power legitimize one another. They say that the editorial published in the well-known journal Scientific American is perhaps the most recent incarnation of the admixture of science and politics. And they were saying, of course, that they were following the data. And what did I tell you? What did I say? I said this is all, number one, as partisan as could be. Oh, ain't that convenient? It just all works out that way. Your moral foundations are all satisfied. Kind of like science on how we get the science, literally on how we get knowledge and how we do it to confirm our beliefs. We get all of this stuff, all of this information in order to build up our argument because we don't like the feeling of losing. We want our team to win. That's why, look, you know, what is it? Love covers many sins. What is it called? What's that phrase about love? Covers a multitude of sins. And that's true in science, man. It is not just love of the people or love of the cause, but love of the power, love of the money, love of the fame, and to be able to shroud yourself like a magician, to be able to shroud yourself in this idea, this myth that you are completely objective. You're only about the facts and only the facts. No. They talk about perhaps, because they mentioned in the endorsement, they talk about masks. They said one example of how this can, the problem with this can be seen in the editorial's defense of mask effectiveness. Perhaps it's the case that masks can and do protect people from transmitting SARS-CoV-2. At the same time, there's a rather strong case to be made that we do have a medical and scientific body of data and knowledge that disputes the current narrative regarding mask effectiveness. Even the World Health Organization has admitted to lack of substantive evidence for the effectiveness of masks. Additionally, a 2006 study on the effectiveness of mitigation measures for controlling an influenza pandemic concluded that there is rather scant data that would even support the effectiveness of N95 masks outside of a hospital setting. So it's there. So for them to pretend that that information is not there and that they are on a more solid footing than they actually are is extremely terrible. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for the trustworthiness of the method. And that's bad. People no longer, if they don't trust science, the concept, because they have an image, again, we're back to this idea. The apple, the heart, the stick man, Bill Nye the Science Guy, Mr. Wizard, But if people don't trust that method, that concept of how we may know something, then we are going to lose the balance of this. We have theology, we have philosophy, we have science, we have different mechanisms by which we are able to know the world, to know ourselves, to know others, to know how we can make progress, how we can differentiate between something that's good and bad, healthy or unhealthy. It needs the balance. We need to push back against the prevailing narrative surrounding science, which is to readily become a, quote, useful instrument of social control. It's what it is. Well, the scientists say that this is what you got to do, so we're going to go ahead and put it into policy right now. What scientist are you talking about? The scientists. That's about as dumb as saying the terrorists. I think they're over there. Let's get them. You think that's how it works, dude? The scientists. That's the phony baloney stuff, man. 99% of scientists. No, they don't, dude. There's no 99 crap. Science is not merely a tool for foisting our own will upon reality. To echo Ionitis and Saltelli, science will recover its true aim if, and only if, it becomes capable of transcending politics. Go find this guy. This guy's dope. Brian Jones, PhD candidate in philosophy in the Center for Thomistic. Oh, look at that, of course. Thomistic Studies at the University of St. Thomas. Down to 40-something%. We're going to go straight to memes, then we're going to go to the comments. Race hustlers, okay, starting with that. Europa, stop having children for the environment. Africa, come to Europe because of declining population. Yeah, isn't that true? Don't you hate that? Don't you just absolutely hate? I hate it especially when it comes from the right. I get it when it comes from the left. They hate themselves. They hate themselves, especially if you're white. And again, this is all a tool. It's all a political tool of power. Going back to the New World Order. They're all about the Tower of Babel. Would you like to rent a room in our Tower of Babel? We're working on it right now. Here. The Electoral College is an artifact of racial injustice. If we haven't learned by now that it must go, what will it take? Good luck, man. You know what? If there are states, if you want to do that, you're going to talk, that's civil war. That's civil war. People be like, look, man, you want to do national vote? Okay, I guess Detroit, Chicago, New York, LA, go ahead, just go to vote. We'll all just wait on you. Oh, we're going to wait on you. We know what that's going to do. We know who's going to win that. Sorry, folks. Create bigger cities. Easier to monitor you. They're like the werewolf, man. Or they're like the... There's that whole Red Riding Hood thing. Move to the cities. It's better to monitor you with. This is real, by the way. I looked this up. The current king of Poland. Go look this up. Apparently, Poland did a coronation for Lord Jesus Christ. As of November 24th, 2016. Me when I realized I overreacted and was being a drama queen, but it's already too late, so I gotta keep my ground. Yeah, dude. Hey, look at this dog's face, too. That's exactly what I'm like. I'm exactly like that, man. Have you ever been there? Where you said something and it was like, whoa, why did I do that, man? Why did I say that? And then you're like, I gotta keep cool, man. Even though you know you messed up. When you try to put a Dorito in your mouth long side first. Yeah, I want to know how I got these scars. That I've had, it hurts, man. People who say millennials look stupid also went around thinking this was cool. Dude, that's so true, dude. Look at that. Look at that hair. And those clothes, I think the bottom left, I think those are Zubaz pants. Are those Zubaz? I can't zoom in. I think that is because it's got the little tag in the front. Man. Oh, look at these outfits of the twins up there. Ugh. Is that the guitar dude with the mustache? Is that the guy playing the guitar? When you enter a room and forget what you wanted to do. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Look at that cat, man. Look at his face. How tough are you? How tough am I? I walk up the stairs slowly. So what? After turning off the light. Okay, yeah, dude. I get that. I still to this day, I don't even know what it is. It's old, man. It is an old fear. I gave myself a little pat on the back because I recently did walk up the stairs in a dark room very slowly, confident that there was no ghost behind me. So, I know what that is, though. I know the fear of that. It's like this heightened sense of, you don't want to bet on that and be like, look, there's nothing behind me. And then it turns out to be some, crazy monster or tiger or something. Right? This is primal, man. This goes back a very, 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 very long way. What? Look at that, man. That person is desperate for air conditioning. But creative. When all two of your friends are busy. Oh, dude. Look at that. Look at these pictures. Look at that guy. See if we can zoom in a little bit on this guy. Look at this. Dun, dun, dun. That's so sad, man. Me. Flipping through the same 3 apps on my phone every few seconds because my life is empty and meaningless. Who sent me these? Are you saying something, dude? Are you saying something about me, man? When you get up after spending 34 minutes on the toilet browsing memes. I can't feel my legs. Yeah. Is that where's that from, man? Where's that from? It's probably a terrible thing to laugh at. Dude, it's true. There's a lot of that. All right, we're going to go here because we got to bounce. I'm at 43%, so I'm okay. Okay. Oh, man, yeah. Good. Okay, Eric Varga. Okay, very good. Glad to see you. Plus those COVID deaths give the hospital those extra bucks. It's true. It's true. It's the same. Dude, there's a wicked incentivization, man. Money Town for this. Money Town for intubation, too. That's not a joke, man. That's serious. Yeah, you're right. Thank you so much for that comment, Eric. I really appreciate it. More than you know, buddy. Penoid News. I did a whole video on this at 10:46. I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, modern progressivism is actually the mainstream Protestant church. Yeah, there's maybe a point to that, man. Penoid News, I'd love to talk to you. Hit me up in an email. Hit me up in. I'll go check out your YouTube channel as well. Okay, but hit me up in an email. I'd love to hear more about that, because you can go back and you can see so many, whether it's the abolitionists, okay, over against the emancipationists, okay, the radical branch, the abolitionists, the early days of the public school system. Okay, these were wrapped up with a lot of this kind of mainstream Protestant church stuff. Reason and purpose of being, son. So, raison etre. Did I say that right then? Did I say that? Reason or purpose of being? Yeah. Thank you, by the way, son. Yeah. You're hooking me up. This is good. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's why these places like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, that they all push it. They're all WASP strongholds in the Northeast. Yeah, it's true. True. You got to send me that whole thing about you got to send me video links and stuff. Again, it would be really easy to do. Oh man, I had it on that screen the entire time. That kind of bums me out a little bit, because I wanted to do this one. I wanted to do this screen, man. I kind of like this little bugger, and I had it on a different one instead. Dude, literally, there's a huge difference between civilization at its essence. If your main crop is rice, you'll be more communistic out of necessity if your crop is wheat. Okay. I'm not getting the point here with that. Like, okay, you can, yeah, the idea that even based on food, okay, that plays into that. I can agree with that. Yeah. I have no problem with that. I don't believe that it's deterministic though, but I believe that it's what would you say? It wouldn't be a sufficient cause for it. I'd like to talk more about it. If you got links, man, send me. I love it. Modern liberalism has nothing to do with religion. Man, Penoid News, I got a whole bunch of comments. Look at this. Oh, I'm way off. On what, man? No, for human beings to live together, you must each contribute to the community and act in good faith in economic matters. Who say? Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I mean, you know, but we tolerate people who don't. What are you going to do? Put them to death? You're not behaving properly in economic matters. You must contribute. If you don't, you're going to be homeless, man. You know, or if you don't contribute to the whole, I mean, I guess you could say, well, let's say a person goes and they contribute enough to make enough money so that they can eat a very small amount of food. Right? Thanks for giving us the bare minimum, buddy. What you going to do about it? And yes, I've read Machiavelli a lot. And yes, Jefferson. Not much on Penn. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Penoid News. I think you set a record tonight, man. And there must have been an issue with some of this, because normally we would have different Facebook, even different Periscopes. So we may have actually had an issue. Not entirely sure what's going on with that. But I'm super grateful for each and every person who watched this evening. I'm going to go ahead and put up the split screen. This is a way you can get in touch with me. If you'd like to have interviews, speeches, I used to do interviews all the time. I still do them. In fact, I've got one. I can say this, man. What was it? October 9th, I'm taking on Tim Flanders, man. Debate on whether or not Catholics should vote for Donald Trump. I say yes. He's going to make the case that, you know, maybe a third party or even abstention. Even abstention. Okay, so we're going to have that argument I believe it's going to be live. So it's going to be live 10 o'clock on the Meaning of Catholic YouTube channel. You got to go check it out. It's going to be tons of fun. Okay. But if you'd like to be involved in any interviews, either on this show or on another show, let me know. Speeches. I've done quite a few. I might even post more of the speeches that I've done on the YouTube channel, as well as paleocratdiaries.com, and any other inquiry at all, including debates. As I said, I'm doing one with Tim. I would love to do more debates. Okay. In fact, if that, what is that? Penoid. Okay. Penoid. If you think that I'm wrong about this, man, and you want to have me on and you got a channel, invite me. It's super easy. All you got to do is go to paleocratdiaries.com. There's actually a little tab there. You click on it, and it's got, you can set it up for speeches, you can set it up for interviews, debates, whatever. Or you can just simply message me at paleocratdiaries@gmail.com. Not hard at all to do. Make sure also to check out my work at Paleo Cheese Podcast. We just uploaded one just last night, so you can hear it as a podcast. You can see it on YouTube, although I think there's no video of that. There's only a video for the intro. We always start with something real funny. Okay, it's a hook. And again, Meaning of Catholic, that is with Tim Flanders. I'm not only going to be there on the 9th, I'm going to begin sharing videos. And he wanted me to do stuff on sedevacantism, and I'm down with that. I'm down with the conversation. I'm down with the debate. I've made videos against the Diamond Brothers. I used to do ones against a buddy of mine named Tim Flanders. Yeah, I was debating Tim Flanders a long time ago. No, videos against a friend of mine named Ken. And so, we used to go back and forth. He's a sedevacantist. I believe to this day he's a sedevacantist. And he's gotten into some interesting stuff, man. He's like a flat Earth guy, And so he's really he's really into that, but used to debate that. And so definitely a whole bunch of fun. But make sure to check out Meaning of Catholic, make sure to check out Paleo Cheese, and make sure to email me at paleocratdiaries@gmail.com. And of course, follow, like, subscribe, and share the daylights out of these videos. And especially you can share the little ones that'll be found on the YouTube channel at Paleocrat, as well as on Twitter and probably on Instagram. I'm going to crank that bad boy up and just start sharing those videos because they're about 2 minutes long and they're always good. So thank you so much for joining us. And remember, never give up. Keep on smiling. And memento mori. If I don't talk into microphones, I don't make that mad cash. Making all that money. Making that mad loot, right?
Mind control.
So we see the minority elite imposing their ideology on an unwilling and resentful populace. This causes a backlash. People get ticked off.
The left is working long and hard to make us feel as if we've done something wrong. Worse yet, that we are the problem. Don't let people just rip on your heritage. Don't let people just rip on your traditions. Don't let people rip on your heroes. Stand up for what you believe, what made you who you are. So unless this disenfranchised majority begins standing up for what they believe in their heart of hearts to be true, I think we'd be left with nothing more than a dirge, and maybe a funeral procession.